James stood there for a moment, taking in the scene before him. The girl couldn't have been older than 18. Her face was young, her eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the thin blanket around the babies, trying desperately to shield them from the biting cold. Despite her obvious vulnerability, there was a quiet strength in the way she held them close, refusing to let go. "I'm not going to hurt you," James said gently, crouching down to her level. "My name is James. Can I help?" The girl hesitated, her grip tightening on the twins. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice tinged with suspicion. "No one else cares." Her words struck a chord deep within James. He'd spent years surrounded by people who pretended to care. Business associates buttering him up for deals, socialites flattering him for invitations to his lavish parties. But none of it had ever felt real. And yet here was this girl, raw and honest, daring to question his intentions. "I saw you sitting here," James replied honestly, keeping his tone calm and reassuring. "I don't know your story, but I can see you're struggling. Let me at least get you somewhere warm." After a long pause, the girl finally nodded, though her expression remained guarded. "My name's Lily," she murmured softly, glancing down at the babies. "These are my twins, Mia and Noah." James helped her gather their few belongings, a tattered diaper bag and a worn jacket, and guided her to his car. As they drove through the snow-covered streets, Lily stared out the window, her arms still wrapped protectively around the infants. She seemed hesitant to speak, so James broke the silence. "How long have you been out here?" Lily shrugged, avoiding his gaze. "A couple of weeks, maybe longer. It's hard to keep track." "Where's your family?" James pressed gently, careful not to push too hard. She stiffened at the question, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I don't have one. Not anymore." Took some coaxing, but eventually Lily opened up. She told James about growing up in an abusive home, running away after turning 18, and discovering she was pregnant shortly afterward. With nowhere to go, she'd ended up on the streets, doing whatever it took to survive. "I didn't want my babies to grow up like I did," she admitted, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But I don't know if I can give them what they need." James listened intently, his heart aching for her. For all his wealth and success, he realized how little he truly understood about hardship. This girl, barely more than a child herself, was fighting every day just to keep her babies alive. And somehow, despite everything, she hadn't given up. When they arrived at a nearby hotel, James arranged for a suite and ordered food to be delivered. Lily protested weakly, insisting she didn't deserve such kindness, but James wouldn't hear it. "You've done enough," he said firmly. "Let someone else take care of you for once." As Lily tucked into a hot meal for the first time in days, James watched her interact with the twins. Even in her exhaustion, she handled them with tenderness, singing softly under her breath as she fed them. There was a resilience in her that James admired, a determination to rise above her circumstances no matter how impossible they seemed. Before leaving, James promised to check on her the next day. "We'll figure something out," he assured her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone in this anymore." For the first time in years, James felt a flicker of purpose, a reason to step outside the bubble of his privileged life and make a difference. Little did he know this was only the beginning. The next morning, James couldn't stop thinking about Lily and her twins. He'd spent years avoiding emotional attachments, convincing himself that his wealth was enough to shield him from the harsh realities of the world. But now, those realities had walked into his life in the form of a frightened young girl and her newborn babies. Something about Lily's quiet strength and her desperation had awakened a part of him he thought was long gone. Determined to help, James returned to the hotel with supplies. Warm clothes for Lily, formula and diapers for the twins, and a list of ideas scribbled in his notebook. When he knocked on her door, she answered cautiously, still unsure whether to trust him completely. "Morning," James said warmly, holding up the bags. "I brought some things you might need." Lily hesitated before letting him in, but as she unpacked the items, her guard began to drop. "Thank you," she whispered, clutching a soft blanket meant for the twins. "No one's ever done anything like this for me." James nodded, sitting down across from her. "You deserve better than living on the streets, Lily. I want to help, not just for tonight, but for the long haul." Over the next few days, James worked tirelessly to create a plan. He arranged for temporary housing at a safe house run by a trusted nonprofit organization, ensuring Lily and the twins would have stability while they figured out the next steps. He also scheduled appointments with pediatricians to check on the baby's health and hired a social worker to assess Lily's needs. At first, Lily resisted accepting too much help. "Why are you doing all this?" she asked one evening, her voice trembling. "You don't even know me." "Because I can," James replied simply. "And because you're giving your children a chance at a better life. That's worth fighting for." As the weeks passed, James became more involved in Lily's journey. He enrolled her in a GED program so she could finish her education, set up a small savings account for her expenses, and ensured she had access to counseling services to process the trauma of her past. Slowly but surely, Lily began to rebuild her confidence. Their interactions grew warmer over time. One evening, after tucking Mia and Noah into their cribs in the safe house, Lily turned to James with tears in her eyes. "I never thought anyone would care about us," she admitted. "But you've given me hope again." James smiled, though his heart ached at the weight of her words. "Hope is powerful, Lily. Don't lose it. You're stronger than you think." For James, this experience was transformative. Watching Lily fight for her future reminded him of what truly mattered: connection, compassion, and making a difference in someone's life. He began spending less time obsessing over business deals and more time visiting Lily, learning about her dreams and fears. In turn, Lily started opening up to him, sharing stories of her childhood and her hopes for her children. By the end of the first month, Lily was thriving. She excelled in her classes, formed friendships with other mothers at the safe house, and found joy in caring for her babies. Meanwhile, James discovered a new sense of purpose. For the first time in years, he felt alive, not because of money or success, but because he was helping someone who needed him. Inspired by Lily's resilience, James decided to expand his efforts. He began researching ways to support other homeless mothers and families, using his resources to fund programs focused on housing, education, and childcare. What had started as a single act of kindness had evolved into something far greater, a mission to change lives, including his own. Months turned into years, and both James and Lily underwent profound transformations that neither could have anticipated when they first met. For Lily, life became a series of small victories that added up to something extraordinary. With James's support, she completed her GED and enrolled in community college, determined to build a better future for herself and her twins. Balancing school, motherhood, and part-time work wasn't easy, but Lily faced every challenge with grit and determination. Her professors noticed her drive, often praising her sharp mind and unwavering focus during class discussions. The twins, Mia and Noah, grew into lively toddlers who filled the safe house with laughter and energy. Watching them thrive brought immense joy to Lily, and to James, who had grown deeply attached to the little family. He visited regularly, bringing toys, books, and even a mini playset for the backyard of the transitional home where Lily now lived. Each visit reinforced the bond between them, transforming their relationship from benefactor and beneficiary to something resembling family. James, too, was changing in ways he hadn't expected. Before meeting Lily, his life revolved around accumulating wealth and status, leaving him emotionally disconnected and unfulfilled. But helping Lily reignited his sense of purpose. He realized that true success wasn't measured by boardroom victories or bank account balances. It was about making a meaningful impact on others' lives. Inspired by Lily's journey, James expanded his philanthropic efforts. He founded a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting homeless mothers and their children, funding shelters, educational programs, and job training initiatives. The organization quickly gained traction, thanks in large part to Lily's involvement. She became one of its most passionate advocates, sharing her story at fundraising events and mentoring other women going through similar struggles. One particularly poignant moment came during an annual gala hosted by James's nonprofit. Lily stood on stage in front of hundreds of attendees, her voice steady as she recounted her journey. From the freezing park bench to the stage she now occupied. "I used to think I was invisible," she said, glancing at James seated in the front row. "But then someone saw me. Someone believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. That changed everything." The audience erupted into applause, many wiping away tears. For James, sitting there watching Lily shine, it was a moment of pure pride. Not just for what she'd accomplished, but for the role she'd played in reshaping his own life. As time went on, Lily continued to flourish. She graduated from college with honors, earning a degree in social work so she could dedicate her career to helping others like her. Meanwhile, James stepped back from his business empire, focusing instead on growing the nonprofit and mentoring young entrepreneurs committed to social change. Together, they created a ripple effect of kindness, touching countless lives across the city. Their bond remained steadfast throughout it all. James attended every milestone event, the twins' birthdays, Lily's graduation, and later, her first day at her new job as a counselor for homeless families. In return, Lily invited James to celebrate holidays with her and the twins, treating him like the father figure she'd never had. Their connection was built on mutual respect, gratitude, and love, a testament to the power of compassion and second chances. In the quiet moments, James often reflected on how much Lily had taught him. She reminded him that resilience wasn't just about surviving. It was about finding strength in vulnerability and hope in despair. And for Lily, James represented proof that not everyone turns away from pain. That sometimes, strangers can become saviors. Through their shared journey, they proved that transformation isn't limited to individuals. It extends to communities, relationships, and even entire worldviews. What had started as a chance encounter on a cold winter night had blossomed into a partnership rooted in kindness, trust, and the belief that no one should face hardship alone. Years later, Lily stood in front of a group of young mothers at a newly opened community center funded by James's nonprofit. The room buzzed with energy as women shared their stories, exchanged advice, and supported one another. For Lily, this was more than just a job. It was her life's mission. She had dedicated herself to helping others facing challenges similar to those she once endured. The community center offered everything from childcare services and parenting classes to career counseling and housing assistance. On its opening day, James joined Lily for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, beaming with pride as cameras flashed and applause filled the air. "None of this would have been possible without you," James said quietly, pulling her aside after the event. Lily shook her head, smiling softly. "It wasn't just me. You gave me the tools to rebuild my life, and now I'm doing the same for others. That's what matters." Their partnership had become a beacon of hope in the city. Together, they inspired countless people to believe in second chances and the power of kindness. Mothers who had once felt invisible found strength in knowing someone cared. Children who might have grown up in uncertainty were given stability and opportunities they deserved. Mia and Noah, now lively elementary schoolers, often accompanied Lily to events, their cheerful personalities lighting up every room they entered. James adored them like his own grandchildren, taking them on outings and teaching them about compassion and hard work. To the twins, he wasn't just a wealthy benefactor, he was family. As the years passed, Lily's impact grew beyond the community center. She became a vocal advocate for policy changes aimed at supporting homeless families, testifying at city council meetings and collaborating with lawmakers. Her story reached national platforms, inspiring others to take action in their own communities. James, meanwhile, continued expanding his nonprofit, funding initiatives that addressed homelessness, education, and healthcare. His wealth, once a source of emptiness, now fueled meaningful change. He often joked that Lily had saved him as much as he'd saved her, a sentiment she wholeheartedly agreed with. One evening, as they sat together watching Mia and Noah play in the backyard, Lily turned to James with a thoughtful smile. "Do you remember that night in the park?" she asked. "Of course," James replied, chuckling. "How could I forget? I think about it all the time," Lily admitted. If you hadn't stopped, if you hadn't cared, I don't know where we'd be right now. James placed a hand on her shoulder, his expression serious but warm. And if you hadn't trusted me enough to let me help, none of this, he gestured around them, would exist. You're the one who made it happen, Lily. I just gave you a push. In that moment, they both understood the truth. Their lives had intertwined for a reason. What had started as an act of kindness had blossomed into something far greater, a legacy of compassion, resilience, and hope. Years later, as James sat in his study surrounded by photos of Lily, Mia, and Noah, he reflected on how much had changed since that cold winter night. What began as a simple act of kindness had transformed not only Lily's life but also his own, and countless others through their joint efforts. Lily had grown into a confident, compassionate woman who dedicated her life to helping vulnerable families. Her twins were thriving, excelling in school and bringing joy to everyone around them. And James? He had found purpose beyond wealth, learning that true fulfillment came from making a difference in the lives of others. Their story was proof that even the smallest acts of compassion could create ripples of change. A chance encounter in a park had sparked a chain reaction, proving that no one is ever truly invisible. Someone will always care enough to help. As James looked out the window at the bustling city below, he felt a deep sense of peace. The world was still imperfect, but it was better because of people like Lily, people who refused to give up no matter how hard life got. And together, they had shown that kindness wasn't just an action. It was a catalyst for transformation. In the end, their bond reminded everyone who heard their story that hope could be found in the darkest corners, and that sometimes, all it takes is one person to step forward and say, "I see you,"